to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy. Sie hören Your Brain on Air. Das Programm beginnt in Kürze. Viel Spaß.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Riverboat Larson, and Cops is filmed on location with the men and women of law enforcement. All suspects are innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. We got a busy one, busy one, folks. I'm not even lying to you today. Today's news has been off the goddamn chain. This is not an exaggeration. I just want to, I'm too excited. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Let's just hop into today's headlines. There's too damn much to talk about. Lavish ballroom renovations at the White House sparked a wave of public criticism, described by critics as, quote, the perfect symbolism of excess under the Trump administration. Big changes, as you all probably remember, are happening at the White House. They're sparking quite the reaction, guys. The Trump administration has confirmed plans for a sweeping renovation that includes building an enormous new ballroom on the White House grounds. The ballroom, estimated around 90,000 square feet, is roughly the size of a football field. It will be constructed as part of the complete overhaul of the East Wing. Reports suggest that that much of the section may be demolished, and as a matter of fact, in recent times, they've confirmed that the majority of the East Wing will be demolished and rebuilt to make space for the new structure. Construction is expected to begin this fall, with completion projected for the end of President Trump's new term in January 2029. Trump's term in January 2029. You guys get it. Anyways, so construction is expected to be completed then. Until then, if you haven't seen the clips, they're tearing this bitch up. They really are. They are taking the cranes to it. They are doing everything and anything they can to completely start from scratch. And I'm not even going to lie to you. The Rose Garden renovation is one where I go, Melania, I don't even see the vision. If you haven't seen the Rose Garden, so the Rose Garden has been around since the Kennedys, like Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. She was enjoying her time there. She would smell the flowers. She'd get cheated on. It was a great vibe in that place. Like, it was a good place for women to sit while their husbands went and slept with other people. I'm not saying that was the case for every president, but it was the case for a majority of them. Bill Clinton, you know what I mean? It was a solid chunk. Anyways, Melania gets in there, and she, as the White House decorator, as we all know, fucking Christmas, as she pronounces it. I love her accent, her Slovenian cunt face that she always serves, where it's just like, her eyes just look witch-like a bat. I love her energy. She's so cunt, and she's the exact energy I think this country needs in a first lady. I never liked the fake teacher aspect of Jill Biden. I never liked the kind of like, obviously she was very Edith Wilson coded in the sense where her husband was infirm, and she was, I'm guessing, like helping him, guide him around, helping him do decisions, helping all of those sorts of things. I never liked her because I also, given the fact that we give Edith Wilson so much credit for running the country during Woodrow Wilson's administration, I would like to give her some credit. I think that the girl boss did her girl boss shit. I just don't think that the Biden administration was particularly well run. Admittedly, it was the next Jimmy Carter. I predicted that the moment he got sworn into office. I said, this is the next Jimmy Carter. He will serve one term, and then we will realize that he's a fucking walking duck, and we're going to throw him out. That's exactly what happened. You know what I mean? Anyways, the White House says the new ballroom will serve as a modern venue for state dinners. Anyways, I didn't finish the story. Damn it. Melania got in there and she paved over that whole beautiful rose garden, and now it's a nice concrete sitting area. Look, I know that the fascist accusations are out there, but the image they're creating in that White House, it's not helping. It's very, I'm going to use this term because I don't believe that these people are like them, but their design choices are Hitlerian. They're very authoritarian. They're very like totalitarianism. Guys, it's not helping the accusations. The accusations of you're turning it into a fascist dictatorship and then paving everything in like marble and stone, that's not helping the image. I don't think that, listen, The last major renovations that we had to the White House was not in 1935, like many people have been claiming with FDR. It was not even before. It was not even with Truman after him. It was not for the presidential envoy room where they get briefed on the war matters. It wasn't any of that sort of stuff. The last renovations we had were in 2014, or at least that's when the construction finished. And a lot of people go like, wait a minute, what? 2014? That's when we had the last renovations, wasn't that? We'll get to that later. Anyways, official receptions and large-scale gatherings will be held in this place. In President Trump's words, current spaces like the East Room are simply too small for these kinds of events, he envisions, often with several hundred guests. As for the cost, it's a big one. Estimates range about $200 to $300 million. The administration insists that the project will be fully funded through private donations, not taxpayer money. That is the key here. None of these will be funded with your money, and guess what? If the president feels as though it's up to him to renovate his home to make it a little more livable or to host state dinners or whatever the fuck, as long as I don't have to pay for it personally, sure, absolutely. If you and your rich buddies want to go pay for it, make it real nice for when the next person comes in there. You know what I mean? That's whatever. However, critics note that the donor list has not been made public, raising questions about transparency and potential influence. Listen, when the Apple logo is embedded on every one of the tiles for that ballroom, that's just gonna, you have to expect this shit. You guys, let's stop playing pretend. Listen, we know how things are gonna go. We know the direction that this place is heading. You're gonna be branded with an Apple logo or a Samsung, depending on if you have an Android phone in the future. I'd rather get the Apple logo branded on myself. I'm gonna be honest with you, because at least the Apple logo has class. I'm taking a sip of coffee. Anyways, but preservationists, historians, and some lawmakers say that the plan threatens the historical integrity of one of America's most iconic buildings. They argue that demolishing or drastically altering the East Wing could erase important pieces of the site's architectural past. There's also concern about timing. The U.S. government is still facing a partial shutdown. Partial, excuse you. It's pretty much total at this point. Listen, guys. Whatever. Public tours of the White House have also been suspended indefinitely. Like, you know that... Has anybody seen Beavis and Butthead Do America? I would highly recommend it. Mike Judge is fucking fantastic. I love his sense of humor. King of the Hill is a great show. And the new Beavis and Buttheads they've been doing are honestly pretty funny. They're a little more body horror than I thought they would be. Like the blowing the ears off and the shit like that. The kidney episode, I was like, this is a little more... I remember the nosebleed episode from the classic series, and I remember they would kind of get into that kind of angle, and I was like, whatever. It's fine. It's not like... they've managed to make it funny every time. Anyways, that scene in Beavis and Butthead Do America where the old, obviously Hank Hill stand-in kind of guy... He's, talking to his wife, and they get escorted out. Guys, we're not going to be able to tour the White House for the next 4 years, and that makes me really sad. I haven't had any personal interest in touring the White House, I'm going to be honest with you. I love the idea of going to D.C. I know people who've gone. To D.C., and they tell me it's honestly not very much. They tell me that it's got the Washington Monument. It's obviously a phallic representation. By the way, is that... can we just admit that, obviously the Washington Monument is, phallic? Okay, admittedly, this is my grand theory about why I think society is so fascinated with skyscrapers, with the idea of, huge, towering things that oddly replicate the male genitalia. I never understood that. That's bizarre. But maybe it's just a power symbol. It's I have the biggest rod in the sky. You know what I mean? It's primal. It's whatever. That's a weird theory. Anyways, it's just kind of what I think. I'm just being honest with you. Critics have described the ballroom project as a perfect symbol of excess, while supporters see it as a bold statement of restoring the grandeur to the people's house. Don't call it the people's house. It's never been the people's house. Either way, it's become one of the most talked about changes in the White House in decades. As construction gears up, eyes are now on the administration for clarity on the final cost, list of donors, and the fate of the East Wing's historic spaces. For now, one thing is certain: the White House will soon look and function very differently than it has for generations. Folks, I want to go ahead and revisit a clip from CNN about 15 years ago. Hopefully, after I play it, we can realize how deeply, deeply silly it is to make this as big of a deal as many people have. I want to just be honest with you guys. The angle that we've been taking of, well, it's, I don't care that it's not taxpayer money. He's still spending just a ridiculous amount. I don't know why he's doing it. I want to go ahead and I want to revisit this, you guys, so that we can just see the level of hypocrisy that is being spewed on the internet waves right here.
Sounds like they're building another wing to the White House, but we renovation project. Estimated cost, $376 million.
$376 million of taxpayer money. This is during the Obama administration, folks. Listen, I want to go ahead and put this rumor to bed. The people you will hear in this clip are going to talk about the White House as though it's the projects. They're going to talk about it like, just because, by the way, I think this is a little racist on their part, because just because it's a black president, suddenly they start talking about the White House like it's the projects. They're like, the water lines are leaking, and like, the phones don't work sometimes. They have 35 bathrooms in that house alone. And by the way, 35 bathrooms, that doesn't include toilets individually. That means that you have multiple toilets per bathroom, certain instances. Folks, they're going to make this a pity party fest. They're going to turn this into it hasn't been touched since the 1930s. That's really the last time we did anything major to it. That's actually not even true, by the way. Major renovations to the piping and electricity were oversaw by President Bill Clinton in the late 90s. So I don't understand this. I have an issue with it because I think it's racist. I don't think it's okay to be talking about like the White House all of a sudden because a black man is president. You're like, they've been living in squalor. We gotta amp it up. It's like, okay, guys, I think he's okay. I didn't hear him complaining about it. He did a pretty decent job of, he made some good decisions. He thought well. He had those quiet moments that every president is supposed to have, you know what I mean, in the White House, where he made major decisions to kill, what's his name, Bin Laden. Like, he had major successes. I don't think that he was living on O Block. I'm sorry to say it. This was not Chicago level conditions. All right, let's continue.
The basic problem, pipes up to 100 years old, which are running into the White House, causing disastrous and dangerous conditions.
This part of the White House hasn't been upgraded since some of it was built in 1902 and then upgraded some parts of it in 1934. We have electrical lines, water lines that haven't been upgraded since, and basically we're digging underground to fix them up.
So tell me about the problems that the White House has had. It's hard to believe that, yes, sometimes the lights go out at the White House, sometimes pipes have leaked. Have there really been those kinds of problems?
You're kidding me. By the way, just for reference, 90 to 100 people were confirmed to be on the staff of the maintenance team. That was people who refurbished any sort of issues that the Obamas came into during their time at the White House. This claim that shit was not touched since the 30s and all of a sudden in 2010, Congress said, God, we keep sending these people that we expect to run our country to a real shithole. We keep sending them to the La Quinta Inn to sleep and make, grand decisions. This was never as dire of conditions as they're trying to make it sound. Just imagine being so, so privileged and so fucking loserish that you show up to one of the nicest homes in the country and yet you still have the audacity to be like, oh yeah, one of the toilets is clogged. I can't be bothered to walk down the hall to one of the other 35 bathrooms confirmed to be in my wing at the very least.
There have been electrical outages at the White House. Telephones have gone down.
And what happens? Does the president call and say, my toilet's not flushing, the lights just went out?
So the residence itself, we haven't had those kinds of issues, but the West Wing, where the president does his business, has had those issues.
Bob Peck of the General Services Administration is overseeing the massive makeover of the East and West Wings, which include the Oval Office, the Situation Room, and the offices of the Secret Service and First Lady.
So tell us what's actually happening here.
Well, we're digging trenches, burying new cable.
Complete renovations of the offices of the First Lady, the Oval Office, the Executive Branch, all of those major areas that have remained untouched, by the way, ever since, that, they got a fresh new coat of paint back then. All I'm saying is that Congress approved this one, folks, and I'm going to say this, at least Donald Trump has the decency for it to come out of his own pocket. I'm sorry, everybody likes to claim that he's not actually rich, and I understand that. I totally agree. He's had fucking casinos fail, he's had all that shit, but either that or he's got some real rich friends. That's, you know what I mean? And they want to get in good with the president. And if they want to redo the West Wing privately, go for it. As long as taxpayers don't have to pay for it, I'm going to be honest with you, the last thing I want is the government to be stealing any more of our money. The last time that they did this for the White House was during the Obama administration. That's just a fact. So let's cut out the performative nature of The ballroom, it's not even worth mentioning. It's so beyond. Is this worth mentioning in the same breath as ICE? Is this worth mentioning in the same breath as, your claims that he is an absolute threat to democracy and a threat to the country and that he is Hitler? I don't understand how this is even on the radar. I don't even understand how this could be on your list of top 40 concerns about this man. I don't understand. Listen. If there's 50 other things to critique, absolutely go for it. I don't even see the issue in this one. I'm sorry. As someone who is like, I want to preserve history. I love the idea of preserving landmarks and shit like that. I really don't give a shit if they want a nicer place to impress rich people or people from foreign dignitaries. If they want a nicer White House, that's not skin off my back as long as I don't have to pay for it. There you go. If you want my honest take, that's what it is. Let's finish this up.
Water pipes.
Congress approved funding of the project in 2008 after a Bush administration report revealed some systems in the White House were periodically failing.
This project is going to cost some $376 million to the taxpayers. Some would say, really? Why would you spend that kind of money simply on a makeover for the White House when there's so many folks who are not doing well?
And it's, we're aware it's underground work. But, it doesn't do a whole lot of good to have a building that's sort of the image of the free world standing up there and not functioning well. And to be honest, when you're digging underground and doing this kind of utility work, particularly in a White House environment, it's a costly project.
500 workers have security clearance to work on the 4-acre project.
In the briefing room, things have been known to get pretty boisterous and heated, but it is nothing compared to the noise right outside in this construction zone.
And it's right outside the Obama family residence.
You ever gotten a call and said, look, you know what? This is too much noise. We're trying to sleep here.
Okay, enough. Now they're going to do like whoa, how have you interacted with the president? Have they been funny when they called you on the phone? You know what I mean? The bullshit, Anyways. So as you can see, the justification for this is very little. Even coming from the head project leader of this site, he's going like, well, yeah, you're right. There's people struggling. There's folks who can't eat. There's people on food stamps. That's what we called them back then. It wasn't SNAP benefits. It was food stamps. And we still had EBT and things like that. But I know that we have people on those conditions and whatnot, but it really doesn't service us to have the nicest building in the country not be as nice as possible. How silly does that sound to you when I word it in those terms? And I know that people will go, you're wording it in the worst terms possible. Yeah, I kind of am. I'm trying to convince you of a point. That's kind of how this works, is that I say something trying to convince you of it, and I hope that you believe me. So, anyways, like I said, you know what? Don't believe me. Go research it yourself. Folks, I just want to go ahead and I want to say... This claim that this is an unprecedented move by Donald Trump, I would say let's ditch the complaints about this. Let's focus on something else. There's 10 other things that we could focus on. I think we should do an ad break. How does that sound? I think that we should do an ad break because that first story was a little heated, right? I think that we need to tone it down a little bit. Folks, performative activism is too tough. Let's face it. No one's weekend hobby is holding a sign in the mud in the rain, and the weather is turning shitty. Let's put the protests on hold and at least until spring. Hop on over to the internet for the winter months. Scared of being cooped up and having no one to fight with? Fear no more, thanks to performative outrage. That's right, folks. Do you like focusing on things that don't really matter or catching people for something they might have said 10 years ago? Then you'll love today's sponsors over at Performative Outrage. Make yourself a saint by pointing out the sins of others and jump on over to the comment sections today. Use code YBOA for 50% off your first Holocaust denial. Of course, we only accept the numbers reported by the Red Cross, despite the fact that they traffic Ukrainian children. Of course, we keep up to date with racial crime statistics. Don't wait! Use promo code YBOA to get your first screaming match today. All right, folks. We're going to jump into a story that is a little bit less heated. I think that, admittedly, I'm like, I love the idea of the White House. I love the idea of like, blah, 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 we want to look nice for other countries. If he wants to make it look nice with his own money or the money of other rich people, I think that's wonderful, great. As a matter of fact, it'll be wonderful when, it'll be wonderful to host parties in when Kamala's president in 2028. I don't know. We all know that's not going to happen. Anyways, I want to talk about something that has recently come on my radar. Someone by the name of Sombr. Sombr is a is a 20-year-old. He's like 2 years younger than me. His name is Shane Michael Boose. I think it's Boose. Boose. He's making headlines. His name is Sombr, and he's a songwriter and producer. He shot to fame this year with his viral TikTok hits like Back to Friends and Undressed, songs I'm not all that familiar with. His debut album, I Barely Know Her, dropped in August and quickly put him on the pop culture radar. But now the young performer is at the center of a major controversy. As a fan's viral video described his recent Washington D.C. concert as, quote, one of the worst experiences of my life. The concert goer said that the show felt awkward and overly sexual, claiming that the audience was mostly filled with teens and tweens, while Sombr's jokes on stage were, in her words, quote, super vulgar. She pointed to a segment that called the Sombr Dating Show, where audience members were invited on stage to call their exes, something that she felt crossed the line, especially in a crowd so young. The clip blew up on TikTok, sparking a flood of online debate, and according to Sombr, a wave of personal attacks. He responded in his own video saying the criticism had led to what he called, quote, a massive body-shaming hate train. Sombr defended his performance, saying that he's only 20 years old himself and that his humor reflects his online personality, and that shows are meant to be inclusive and fun. He added that people who attend his concerts should know what to expect and that anyone of any age, race, gender, or background is welcome. Why do you gotta tag that on? That makes me suspicious of you. I've never had to say, hey, anyone of any age, race, gender, and background is welcome to listen to my podcast. Anybody, no matter what color you are. You know, doesn't that sound weird to you? Anyways. Still, the controversy has raised some legitimate questions. Critics argue when most of the audience is under the age of 18, even lighthearted sexual jokes or suggestive moments can feel inappropriate. They also point out the power dynamic. When a performer invites a fan on stage, especially minors, there's a responsibility to make sure everyone feels safe and respected. So let's I want to go ahead and I want to bring back to everybody's minds. Do you remember when Miranda sings? That's a throwback. For anyone who's probably Gen Z or millennial, you know exactly who I'm talking about. She used to do this bit when she would do this kind of, I think it was a racial character. I don't even know. She, not even racial, but it's the way she did her lipstick. It was very stereotypical and whatever. She did this show on stage where she invited a kid up at one point and then like proceeded to do fart jokes relating to like spreading the kid's legs apart and whatnot. Like, it was truly like, I've seen the worst of the worst when it comes to these fucking weirdo influencers. I think that this 20-year-old doing shit, I'm gonna be real with you, I don't like it. This whole thing where he's 20 years old and he's like testing the lines with like what he can get away with. That's so weird and bizarre. It was weird and bizarre when a comedian was doing it. Miranda Sings, when she was trying to play it off as a joke, like doing this weird stuff with kids. I never understood, like, she was a prime example of why people got to watch out for, like, watch who your kid is watching on social media. I'm serious with you. If your 14-year-old is like, let's go to this person's thing, check out their YouTube channel. Make sure that I'm sounding so boomerish right now, but watch what your kids are watching on the internet. It's really, I grew up with limited, like, not limited access to the internet. I was on YouTube all the time. I did all that sort of stuff, and I loved it. It was good entertainment, but you also, when you're a kid, you cannot have unrestricted access to the internet. I'm sorry. It's not going to be good for your child. It's not going to be good for their development. It's not going to be good for their, like, social skills. It's not going to be, and if they start idolizing, this is also a major issue you're seeing with kids nowadays. They're finding, with the weak and often absent parents that they have, they're turning to idols online like Andrew Tate. They're turning to, exactly. You get my point. You know exactly where I'm heading here. Is that absent of any parental guidance, people will find parental guidance even if it's from the worst figures. And it's the people, by the way, once you hand a kid their phone, it's the only stimulation they're ever going to need in their life. That's just a fact of nature. I don't think that, if I ever were to have a child, I'm definitely going to flip phone this shit. I'm not going to let them on the Apple or anything like that. The people who own these companies struggle to let their kids have their devices. They're like, I don't know that this is good for your dopamine loop. So this is calling to my mind those weird YouTuber moments. You know, like at VidCon when you'd see just those, I don't like the way you interacted with that fan. I think that the way that you like are I don't know. You say that your content is targeted towards adults, but you have like, it's like Shane Dawson where he had like kids coming up to him and like giving him hugs at conventions and shit. I grew up off of Shane Dawson. I'm not even shaming him for it. I'm just saying that like, there's no good way to navigate this as an artist, and the best possible way is just to not do weird shit. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm looking at these accusations where he's trying to turn this into a pity party fest. He's trying to be like, oh, what's it called? It was a body shaming campaign. People are like calling me skinny and shit, which he is. He's like he's a string bean. You see this guy? He looks like Harold from what's it called? Total Drama Island. He's like got this real, just like slender build. I don't care if this is body shaming. Eat something. I'm not even gonna lie. He looks like a skeleton up there. You know the Minecraft skeleton noise when you hit him with your sword? That's what you hear every time he dances. Others say that backlash has gone too far. Really? Fans who attended the show say that the criticism is exaggerated, claiming that most attendees were adults and that Sombr did check ages before anyone went on stage. Okay, at least you can give him that. Miranda Sings didn't give a shit. She was just like, I don't care. If you're 14, come on up. Come on up and we're going to do some jokes. Like, you know what I mean? At least he might have been checking IDs. I don't know. Some also say the performance style, full of irony, sarcasm, and internet humor, just didn't land well with older viewers who might not be familiar with this tone. At this point, there are no allegations of illegal behavior or official complaints, just a heated debate about boundaries, performance style, and the audience expectations in the age range of TikTok fame. So, we're going to review his little cry fest that he had. We got E! News has a clip of it. He is facing some controversy. Let's address this, because there's a... We gotta talk about the range of, I don't know, the range of control that influencers are able to exercise over their fans. I'm legitimately concerned about that. It's always been an issue ever since we've had internet celebrities. There's always, and it's Minecraft YouTubers, guys. I have a grand theory that I'm working on, and and it's because I saw it in a meme. I'm gonna give a meme credit for giving me this idea. Isn't it weird the amount of Minecraft YouTubers that turn out having like misconduct allegations against them? I feel as though there's like a grand network of these guys. I feel as though this is millennial and Gen Z's Epstein that they haven't discovered yet. That's my grand theory, is that I think that some of these communities are formulated purely for these people to have influence over children. I'm not even lying to you. You really think that if some person who wanted that type of influence, who wanted to, like, I want to get in as many kids' heads as possible, you really don't think that if they were handed a phone that they would not immediately start exercising that influence? You don't think that they would immediately start putting out content to appeal to those age groups? That, with the internet, with the fact that we've given access to anybody and everybody, that means anybody and everybody can do anything they want with it. And that's simultaneously the greatest thing humans have ever done and the most dangerous, hellish thing we've ever done. You know what I mean? This will be an ongoing debate for centuries, ever since we opened Pandora's box. When we opened up the internet to the idea that, yep, you can get famous and anybody can grow a following, that means anybody can grow a following. You got people like Ben Azulai, the guy who is literally has the allegations of a 14-year-old. These are not like out there cases either. These are people that get followers quick. It is bizarre. Anyways, I want to just review this. I want to get to it. This is just addressing my grand concerns about, like, I don't like the fact that all of his groupies are coming to the defense and just whatever. You guys just don't get it. Let's hear his point of view, guys, and maybe you can formulate your point of view.
Sombr's responding to a critic online who tore apart his concert after describing the event as the worst concert the TikToker has ever been to in her life.
By the way, this kid looks, if you've ever heard the reptile conspiracy, that reptiles are like in the music industry and shit, I'm gonna body shame. I don't even give a shit. He looks like it. He's got the very gaunt cheeks. He's got the, like, very long, defined neck. You know what I mean? It looks like it has a dick in it. It's not even a joke. He looks like perpetually. I think it's his Adam's apple. It doesn't look right. Anyways.
Sombr responded in a video shared October 19th. First, he described the criticism, saying,
I thought I was chronically online, but it's just come to my attention that there's a TikTok drama going around. because a 25-year-old attended my concert and was basically complaining that there were too many tweens there, I was making too many brain rot jokes, and she just thought it was a cringe concert. And also she was body shaming me, and it's kind of started a massive body shaming hate train directed towards me on a lot of videos of me on the internet right now, which is...
Eat something! You look like... This is an old Gen X line that I would always have my aunts and uncles and my grandparents throw out at every fucking get-together. They would go, "You're gonna blow away in the wind! You gotta eat something! Shut up, fatty! Shut up! I understand! Yes, I don't need 4 plates. Listen... This was a major issue for me at every family get-together for some reason, because I was a picky eater as a kid. I was fat somehow, but I was a picky eater because I just ate sugar. But these people would be like, they'd look at an obviously overweight kid and they would go, "You gotta eat something." The fuck are you talking about? I gotta eat something. It's your house. You eat.
He then clears some things up.
I totally respect people having opinions, but I am a 20-year-old artist, freshly 20. And if you're 25 years old and you're going to come to my concert and not expect people younger than you to be there when I, the artist, am 5 years younger than you, it's just a skill issue. Also, like, the jokes thing, like, you had to have known about my online presence before coming to my concert. I mean, anyone who knows me knows I've never uttered a serious word in my life. And also, I make jokes for 5...
That's never a good angle, guys. That's never a good angle to say I've never uttered a serious word in my life. I'm serious about a lot of the things that I say, and I feel like my tone can shift and whatnot, and if people ask me if I was serious about something, I will justify it. But this guy taking the absolute pussy route of everything I've done is jokes, everything possible is jokes, I can't have anything taken seriously about whatever I've done. That's really snaky. It's a classic YouTube dodge, which is just the "I'm a comedian, I can't be held responsible" technique. I would love to be held responsible for everything that I've said. I still believe in the whole, like, yeah, Ukraine is not... It's not our major investment, guys. I will cede some of it to the Russians in order to stop the conflict. I'm going to be honest with you. I will always be honest with you. I will always tell you how I feel. And if I'm making a joke, I feel like it's easy to tell. But, you know, is that a plane? Holy shit, I heard a plane flying over me, and I was like, it's over, it's 11:09. Anyways, folks, that's the drama with Sombr. He's not feeling the best. He's actually feeling quite somber. Anyways, I want to get into the rapid fire of today's headlines. Those last 2 stories, guys, they were pretty tough. They were pretty intense, and I'm going to be honest with you. I want to clear my head. I want to get into the good vibes of today. These good Thursday vibes. So let's just get into the major headlines. If you don't already know, I'm going to do get through it. I do 9 to 10 headlines, and it's just the ones that I want you to know about because, I don't know, I don't want you to miss them today. Law enforcement in Vancouver busts a criminal network operating inside a low-income hotel, seizing over $336,000 in toxic drugs and thousands in stolen goods. All right, that's cool. Vancouver, that's interesting. The Canadians you'd never expect it from, but they are the ones that do Trailer Park Boys. They're the ones that do all of those. Trailer Park Boys is a decent show. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. I don't remember most of the episodes, I'm going to be honest with you. Mark Carney, speaking of Canada, Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, announces a plan to double non-U.S. exports in the next decade, saying Canada can not only rely on the U.S. market. Yes. Listen, if you haven't seen the prices in Nunavut as of recent, $96 for cat litter. Go on TikTok and I want you to look up Nunavut prices. I want you to look at the grocery stores from the people who live in that area. The amount that we've risen, our prices on these fuckers, the tariffs that we have instilled on these people, we are fucking that country. If you have not already seen the price rises, it is ridiculous. And he needs to find anything at all to diversify, because quite frankly, until Trump is out of office, I don't think that Canada is going to be getting any help from us, quite frankly. Justin Trudeau, thank goodness he is out. I'm glad that he is gone. He was never the dreamboat that everybody made him out to be. Remember Seth MacFarlane? And I have a complicated view of Seth MacFarlane because he's an absolute vaccine absolutist. He's like, everybody should have gotten it every time. Doesn't matter your personal, your health history or whatever. Even though vaccines didn't help reduce the spread rate, they didn't prevent you from getting it again. He has has a lot of those opinions where it's just he wants a priesthood of doctors and everything they say to be correct. I have complex views on Seth MacFarlane. He had this dumbass episode where I didn't mind the Trump parody. I won't even lie. He did this parody where like Peter works at the White House. It was a good episode. I'm not even gonna lie. And then they did a massive fight, and it was actually pretty good. It was a parody of the chicken fight. And it was a solid enough episode. But you watch it, and it finishes off with Justin Trudeau riding in on Canadian geese. And I'm like, this glazing of Canadian culture. You don't want to talk about their healthcare. You want to talk about their healthcare system, but the fact that it's free, you don't want to talk about literally anything else relating to the healthcare system. At least that's what you'll get from a lot of people who talk about Canada. You'll get people who talk about low prices, but they don't actually talk about what the prices are for. It's definitely not for the housing. It's definitely not for literally any grocery and anywhere. Let's move ahead. Canada, I try not to think about you guys that much. You're a little further north than me, and I'll go to Winnipeg one day. My mom's been recommending it. It sounds beautiful. China's state oil majors suspend purchases of Russian seaborne oil because of sanction concerns, causing a drop in demand from Moscow and pushing up global oil prices. Cool. Russian oil people, we're really cracking down on them. That's pretty good. China needs to diversify. We want anything that we can do to make Russia and China be less buddy-buddy. I'm all in favor for. We do not need the East to unite against the West. I'm sorry, that's just a fact. Donald Trump's administration imposes large new sanctions on Russian oil industry as well, targeting a war economy and pressuring Vladimir Putin's regime. We're putting pressure. Ukraine, we're gonna do the Luhansk, Donetsk. We'll cede those to you, and then eventually we'll be okay. If lands with Russian-speaking people can have Russian troops in them, why not? I don't give a shit. Donald Trump's administration, never mind, I just read that one. The United States federal government remains shut down as the Senate fails again to advance the GOP funding bill, marking the long-running stalemate. Excuse me. We're not gonna have this solved in a while, guys. This is gonna be the longest, I'm predicting this right now, this will be the longest government shutdown in American history. Longer than the 30 some odd days that we had back in the first Trump administration, longer than any we've had before. Hold on tight to your loved ones. Your military folks are still getting paid, which is great. That's good. In Edmonton, investigators reopened a 35-year-old case of a senior's murder and are now searching the Wells North City as possible disposal sites. Good for them. I hope they find it. The final debate for New York City mayoral race happens, and Andrew Cuomo is judged as the winner, while challenger Zohran Mamdani is said to have barely made the grade. Well, that's the New York Post's point of view, and as you know, the New York Post is a right-leaning observation. I still don't believe that Cuomo has a chance. I'm going to be honest with you, and it's an unfortunate reality that it's probably. I hope that socialism works there better than it's worked in Venezuela. That's all I will say, is that I hope for their sake that it works. I hope this time it works out. Folks, we're going to get into our third story for today because I know very little about sports in general. If you have sports heads in your life, I think that they would be a better one to comment on this. But I think that this story is just interesting enough that I want to throw it out there so that you have it to talk about in your life. Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups charged in illegal poker operation tied to the mafia. In a dramatic development, Chauncey Billups, head of the Portland Trail Blazers and a former NBA coach, has been arrested and charged in connection with alleged illegal poker rings described by law enforcement as being tied to organized crime. This also implicates Miami Heat point guard Terry Rozier. He has also been implicated and arrested. Let's head to this clip of CNN News.
All right, we've got some breaking news for you. Miami Heat point guard Terry Rozier and Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups have been arrested in connection to an FBI sports gambling investigation. Next hour, we're expecting FBI Director Kash Patel to appear with the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York at a press conference announcing indictments surrounding those allegations. All right, CNN's Kara Scannell is joining us now with the latest. What are you learning about this? This just came in just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, these arrests have just happened, and of course the Miami Heat guard, Terry Rozier, and Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, have been arrested. A third former NBA player is also charged. And what law enforcement officials tell us is that there are two separate schemes.
How much you guys want to bet it was Michael Jordan?
Like a game rigging scheme.
I heard he had a real gambling thing.
And he allegedly provided information about who was playing in game.
No, play.
Who might be on the injury list to some of the sports bettors that he was involved with, and he benefited himself financially. According to one official, he bowed out of a game faking an injury about 9 minutes in to help whatever bet had been placed on that game. Then there is a separate alleged scheme, and that's the one that allegedly involves the coach of the Trailblazers. And in that alleged scheme, that also involves 3 families from the New York Mafia families, the Genovese, the Bonanno, and the Gambino crime families. That this is a poker scheme, according to sources, that involved playing Texas Hold'em, and that
Good game.
Phillips was part of that scheme, attending these games. And according to one official, his attendance was there to be used as sort of a distraction to some of the other players who were playing, all part of a poker ring. So 2 separate sports betting schemes that they're announcing today. And we will, of course, learn much greater detail about what all of this entails next hour, when we do expect to see the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, the NYPD police chief, as well as the FBI Director Kash Patel, kind of laying out the breadth of these 2 alleged schemes. And
anyone else love Cash? I just love seeing Cash. He makes me so happy. I love seeing his eyes. And I'll see you in Valhalla. That was, by the way, if anyone else doesn't remember, back when the Kirk assassination happened. By the way, I remember where I was when I found out. I'm sure everybody else does, but back when the Kirkinator joined George Droid on Instagram Reels, and they flew to Agartha with Alex Jones. Before all that, when all that was happening, Kash Patel gets on the mic, and he's like, "We got the guy. We framed the kid. We planted the manifesto. Everything is solved. We've done it again, guys. Charlie, the work is done. Rest easy, brother. And I'll see you in Valhalla." It's the dumbest shit you've ever seen in your life. There's edits all over Instagram where he's like dressed up as a Viking and he's saying it, and he's like, "I will see you in Valhalla, brother." Isn't Valhalla? That was an Assassin's Creed game, and it took place in Norway. Yeah, the Norwegian heritage bled from that game. It was cool as shit. If you're a Trailblazers better, if you're on Prize Picks, if you're seeing this, Prize Picks is available in your state. If you're on Prize Picks, if you're doing any of those fantasy leagues involving basketball, use this to adjust your bench accordingly. I don't know much about the bench process. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't do fantasy leagues too often. You know, I never got into like the manifesto of I'm sorry. I always see these people around my area that are like able to go, "Hey, you see the Ravens? They got that one player, Antonio Manucci. And they talk the minutia, they talk the little numbers, and they act like sportscasters. By the way, this is the saddest thing: is that the majority of people you meet from like small town America, from like even like suburbs outside of a city, the majority of what these people know how to talk about, it's not politics, it's not anything interesting, it's not anything like global or like of any importance to the world. It's like they're absolute masters of talking about, "Oh, did you see Stephen A. Smith talked about this one guy? He's really the one that you want to have on your bench. And then, did you see the Ravens game? Did you see the Twins scored this?" They are absolute. They're autistic level, able to talk the minutia, the numbers. They should have. I feel like I could have done a better job of organizing that offensive line. I feel like I could have done it. Hey, what are you doing running when you're that close to the fucking 10-yard line? Why are you just running? These people watch, remember the Titans. They watch, what's it called? What's the one where it's like, it's a high school sports and there's like the Midnight Blues or something like that? Not Hill Street Blues. It's some football show where it's like, it's a high school and there's yelling or whatever. And these people watch these movies where like sports really give people deep meaning. The idea of like, I'm going to be a master of my craft. I'm going to master slamming into people. I'm going to master throwing with this arm, and I'm going to master all of these things. I think that the idea of sports as like a pacifier to the majority of the population is 100% true, because you'll look at these people who are able to talk to you about the statistics. They're able to go, "This is why you should bet on these people. This is why these people are having a great season. This is why these people are doing these trades." and then you talk to them and you go like, okay, what do you think about the major revolutions in Madagascar? What do you think about this recent tax reform bill? What do you think about the massive divide in Congress, which is the reason that a lot of government workers aren't getting paid? What do you think about these, like, what do you think about this senator? What do you think about this politician? And they look at you and they go like, well, that's just, I don't talk about that stuff. I'm not paid to deal with that stuff, so I don't like to think about it. They are willing to give their time to anything else but stuff that matters. Weirdly enough, they're willing to listen to podcasts for hours on end of like so-and-so talking about how I knew I had a great arm at this age, and I started going to games with my dad at this age. It's literally, it's like how certain adults get into comic books. It's how certain people get into like superhero movies. It's all petty distractions from actual things that are happening in the world. And I'm not saying one is not allowed to have petty distractions. I have plenty of them. But when you are so pacified by the petty distractions that they overwhelm and overconsume your thoughts to the point where you will take party lines and those will just be your beliefs, where you'll have 10 other thoughts about sports and whatnot, but generally you lean Republican, so you're gonna fire off Republican talking points, or generally you lean Democrat, so you're gonna fire off Democratic talking points. But then you realize that these people that generally just vote D or vote R, they're not ready to actually get into the minutia of what their policies mean. They're not ready to get into the minutia. And normally when you actually get into the conversation with these people, you know what they'll do? They'll accuse you of being a contrarian. They'll accuse you of being, I think you're just trying to start something. Nobody really likes to talk about this stuff. And it's like, wait a minute. Nobody likes to talk about your meaningless games. No one likes to talk about your matches that actually are not world championships. Nobody actually wins anything. That's all over a fucking trophy, so that you can just sit on a couch and watch advertisements one day. You are somehow able to be captured by this, like an iPad kid is with fucking, like, with the latest bullshit that they have on Cocomelon. Somehow this is able to grab you more interestingly than anything on C-SPAN ever has. These people also, the majority of the time, they get their news, they get their politics from SNL. They get their news, they get their politics from like the Jon Stewarts, the Daily Show. They get their serving of politics not from anything like personal research. They don't read the newspaper. They don't read actual articles. They go to the trusted mouthpiece for their side, and then they hear the talking points. They hear what they're supposed to say. They don't actually formulate any opinions. They sit down for the half-hour John Oliver piece. I was one of these people. For the longest time. They sit in front of the TV for the John Oliver piece, and they memorize it. They memorize it line for line, and they're like, this is the definitive takedown, even though the majority of it is just fuck jokes and dick jokes. That's, by the way, John Oliver, I'm sorry, you cannot take this man seriously. He cannot have one show where he cannot just like go, he can't just talk legitimately about anything without resorting to petty nothingness. And listen, the reason I resort to petty nothingness is because I don't present myself as a news gentleman. I don't present myself as a journalist. I don't present myself as somebody who's going to get it 100% correctly. I present myself as Ollie Vogt Larson with a mic, and that's all you're getting. You're getting me talking. This is the most legitimate version of me you could ever see. Let's summarize this, and let's make it really simple at the very end, people. If you know more about, the Gophers' last game or anything like that than you do about, I don't know, anything. If that's just something that absolutely fascinates you to the furthest extent, I don't know, like, what else has been going on in that brain? You know what I mean? I think that the best key to avoiding becoming a lame duck in this world, just kind of this blasé nobody with no opinions, it's to challenge what you think is yourself, because more often than not you'll find out that it isn't yourself. It's something that someone told you that you are. Folks, I want to end this with a beautiful clip from Tommy Boy. It is a reference to me after I eventually succumb to my fate and I give up on my dreams and I go to work at BTD. There's my dad looking at me.
Checking the specs on the end line for the rotary.
Grr, I'm retarded. folks, that is me. When this whole YouTube shit doesn't work out, I'm gonna take that job that my dad's been offering me, and I'm gonna go work with him. And there's nothing you can do to stop me. Folks, this has been your Brain on Air. Thank you so much for listening. I know it was a pretty heated one, but guess what? That just means that we had good news to talk about. So, with it, I appreciate you coming on, listening. Thursday was great. We'll be back at it again Friday for our final episode for the week, and then, we'll be back Monday. If you liked it, subscribe, do all that nonsense. We'll see you later. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. This has been your Brain on Air with Ollie Vogt Larson. I'll catch you Friday. Bye-bye.